The worst defeat in human history. World War II. How many major cities have been completely destroyed? London, Tokyo, Hamburg, Berlin. Almost every geopolitical event and international relationship can be traced back to this one war. With today's video, we try to better understand what exactly happened from start to finish, why it happened, and what impact it had. The whole history of World War II.
It is difficult to track down one single event that sparked the conflict, for ultimately it was a series of events that conspired together to eventually light the flame of war.
The world's most hated treaty, the Treaty of Versailles, thus starting World War II in 1939. The whole world.
Let's start with 1919. In this year, World War I ended and a famous peace treaty called the Treaty of Versailles was signed. A very important clause in this treaty was the drafted Article 231. Germany was responsible for all damage caused by World War I. This clause is also called the War Guilt Clause because it basically said that the war between all countries was solely Germany's fault. France and Britain wanted Germany to pay a heavy price for losing the battle and for Germany to recoup all their losses. They wanted to recoup all their losses from Germany. As a result, under the Treaty of Versailles, Germany was ordered to pay a $33 billion penalty. That's $270 billion in today's money. This is so much money that you won't believe it. Germany made the last payment in 2010. It took almost 100 years to receive this money. You will ask yourself where this money comes from the land and from the people. And the first payment of this money was made by Germany in 1921, and after that, Germany experienced hyperinflation. The currency in Germany at that time was the Deutsche Mark. It has lost value so quickly that you won't believe it now. In 1922, a packet of bread in Berlin cost 160 German marks. The next year, 1923, the cost of the same package of bread was very high than the previous year. The economy was obviously paralyzed, and the unemployment rate is rapidly increasing. Under such circumstances, Adolf Hitler entered our history, a young political leader who understood how to manipulate the masses with speeches. In 1923, Hitler's Nazi party managed to overwhelm the German government through a coup. Even though the attempt failed, it resulted in Hitler's popularity among the masses increasing manifold. Rumors began to spread among the population about the embarrassment Germany was facing. The international humiliation of Germany was due to the anti-international elements living in Germany. People were desperate, so they were easy to manipulate. Hitler claimed that the blame lay with the Jews and socialists living in the country. They are the reason for Germany's disgrace. Propaganda over the next 10 years was used to abundance. Media organizations everywhere were paid off with hate speech. In 1929, the Great Depression occurred, which made the poor unemployment situation even worse. In 1933, 6 million people in Germany were unemployed. Many people were homeless. Children starved to death. As a result, Hitler declared himself dictator of Germany in 1933. After taking full control of the country, Hitler began to realize his dream of a German Reich, German Empire, a property that would be racially pure. Its residents would be people of the Aryan race, but there would be no room for Jews and Slavs. In order to fill people with hatred, they developed the conspiracy theory of Jewish Bolshevism. According to the conspiracy theory, the 1917 revolution was supposedly caused by the Jews, which ultimately led to the founding of the Soviet Union. In 1935, the rest of the world found out that the Germans had an air force. This may not seem like a big deal to you. After all, every country has its air force. But the Treaty of Versailles laid down the terms that Germany can have no military power whatsoever. This was a blatant violation of the territory of Versailles by Hitler. But at this time, many people in Britain believed that the contents of the Versailles territory were very unfair to Germany. They demanded such a high ransom that it paralyzed the country, and the country was not even allowed to enter the military. People think it was very demanding when Great Britain signed the Anglo-German Naval Agreement in June 1935. This officially recognized that Hitler had the power to give Germany an independent navy with his navy, but increasing militarization in Germany alarmed France. And France started to build a 450-kilometer long fortress on its eastern border. This was named the Maginot Line. In 1938, when Hitler believed that his military was adequately prepared, he turned his attention to neighboring Austria. For Hitler, Austria was a must. He wanted all German-speaking countries to unite as one nation. His primary goal was not only to conquer as many lands as possible to satisfy his pride, but also to appropriate their resources. In order to advance his own country, the people, who Hitler believed were in charge of racial oversight of his Aryan race, he wanted to give them somewhere to live, so they can live free. In February 1938, Hitler met the Australian Chancellor Kurt Schuschnigg. He was forced to sign a deal. The agreement enabled Hitler to exert influence over the Austrian government through Nazi people. The Austrian government was controlled by the appointment of its own people, for example Dr. Hans Fischbach, undermined. He was supposed to become Austria's new finance minister. He was a Nazi, and other Nazis who were in prison were released by him within a month. Things spiraled out of control. The Austrian chancellor knew the infiltration had to be stopped. First of all, the people had to be asked whether Austria should be an independent country or a country united with the Nazis. He decided to hold a nationwide vote for it. As soon as Hitler found out about the plebiscite, Hitler and his army invaded Austria. The German military invaded Vienna, but the Austrian chancellor did not want any bloodshed and resigned from his position. Hitler used his Ministry of Propaganda to spread fake news about unrest in Vienna, and how the communists were responsible for the unrest. And so the next day the Austrian government questioned the German army, the Austrian parliament was dissolved and Austria ceased to be an independent country. This invasion was successful and without any bloodshed. A main reason for this was that many people in Australia at this point were in Hitler's favor because they were also victims of the propaganda. They thought Hitler's invasion would help them, that Hitler could make their country a superpower. After taking over Austria, Hitler continued on to the next country, Czechoslovakia. There was a reason for this on the border with Czechoslovakia, Sudetenland. Of the approximately 3 million Germans living here, Hitler used this as an excuse to refer to this region as German because of the Germans living here. This is where British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain came into the picture. He wanted to avoid war at any cost. He believed when Hitler got what he wanted, he would stay calm and there would be no wars. Therefore, the Munich Agreement was signed in September 1938. According to this agreement, the Sudetenland territory was to be handed over to Germany, only if Hitler promised there would be no more wars.
The settlement of the Czechoslovakian problem, which has now been achieved, is, in my view, only the prelude to a larger settlement in which all Europe may find peace.
Hitler gladly took the piece of Czechoslovakian land, but not even 1 year pasted before that violated the Munich Agreement. In March 1939, Hitler took his army to invade the rest of Czechoslovakia. People fought for the first time, but the German army won easily, and the country was split into two. One was included in the German territory and the second part was made Nazi client state. A puppet government was placed under the name of the Slovak Republic. The British Prime Minister Chamberlain was therefore subjected to severe criticism. At this time, Winston Churchill famously said, "You were given the choice between war and dishonor. You choose dishonor, and you will have war." Hitler was looking for the next country, Poland, taking control of Poland. In a fatal move, Hitler signed a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union in 1939. At first glance, you might think that Hitler hated the Soviet Union and communist ideology. So why should he do this? The only reason was to invade Poland. In this situation, the Soviet Union also wanted to have a part of Poland. The interests of the two nations coincided. On September 1, 1939, almost 1 million German troops began the advance into Poland. They planned to attack from the north and south simultaneously. Other countries were shocked by this, and the United Kingdom and France were at the end of their patience. If Hitler continued to invade one country after another, the next number might be theirs. How will the world cope with the fact that it could no longer endure? The United Kingdom presented Hitler with an ultimatum. If he continued to invade Poland, they would declare war on Germany. Hitler ignored the ultimatum, and with that the United Kingdom officially declared war on Germany. France, Austria, New Zealand, South Africa, and Canada then also declared war on Germany. The British Prime Minister made this announcement over the radio.
A state of war would exist between us. I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
It was clear that if they had stopped fighting at that point, Hitler would have been the clear victor. Hitler had the big upper hand. So how did the turnaround come about? And could Great Britain beat the Germany?
On the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender!
Let's continue this tale in the next video. Second part of World War II. Until then, check out this interesting video I made about the Napoleon Bonaparte. Thank you and see you in part 2 of World War II. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.